What's the one thing that breaks your freedom of choice? Let's find out. Hi, my name's Dave, and welcome to my daily journey through the Daily Stoic, 366 Meditations on Wisdom, Perseverance, and the Art of Living by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hasselman. If you enjoy Stoic content, self-improvement, and recovery, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And the answer is addiction. All right, today's reading, September 6th. They can throw you in chains, but you can bind my legs, but not even Zeus has the power to break my freedom of choice. Epictetus, Discourses 1.1.23. It is said that Epictetus walked with a permanent limp as a result of being chained up as a slave. 2,000 years later, James Stockdale also had his legs chained in irons, his arms bound behind his back and pulled from the ceiling, repeatedly wrenching them from their sockets. Former Senator John McCain was in that same prison, subjugated to much of the same abuse. Because his father was famous, McCain was repeatedly offered by his captors a chance to abandon his men and to be sent home early. He too tightly held on to his freedom of choice, declining to submit to the temptation, even though it meant a loss of his physical freedom he must have ached for. None of these men broke. No one can make them sacrifice their principles. That's the thing. Someone can throw you in chains, but they don't have the power to change who you are. Even under the worst torture and cruelties humans inflict on one another, our power over our mind and our power to make our own decisions can't be broken, only relinquished. Yeah, that's a really interesting one today. I had to read this one a couple of times because I was really thinking about this power of choice. And as someone who's gone through recovery, I think the obsession of the mind that comes with addiction. And so I kind of want to dedicate this second part of the video really about understanding kind of addiction as it applies to kind of Stoic principles. Because for me, it wasn't the alcohol itself that, that brought on the obsession or the drugs, and it led to it, but it was I relinquished my freedom of choice and turned my power over to alcohol and drugs. It's that turning over of where it became a coping mechanism so much of where even after it stopped working, I would obsess about it, that obsession of the mind. Like no physical outside thing or person can break you, but it's when it's those internal values start to break and those principles start to go that you'll throw everything out the window for that obsession. You'll do unspeakable and horrible acts to fulfill that obsession and that addiction. That's how insidious addiction is. It isn't a external thing as much as it's an internal thing. You can have addiction to things that aren't necessarily addictive. Video games, porn, corn, love, all kinds of things, not just necessarily drugs and alcohol. It's one of these things of recognizing that addiction, this is why addiction is so insidious and such a disease, because not only does it have like the allergy of the body, you get that dopamine hit and everything else, you become so obsessed with it. And especially with those with ADHD, it's so easy for us to become a slave to that chemical process. And the only way, going through recovery, it's an extremely difficult process because it's a really big self-examination of who I am and how I interacted with the world. And until I kind of went through that process, and it wasn't an easy process, it was painful at times, and yet it allowed me to heal the internal wounds. I can't take outside things to fill the inside hole. I had to build those strong principles. I wasn't strong like the late John McCain or James Stockdale or even Epictetus there. That stuff broke me, the addiction, the obsession, and it's still something I have to be really cautious of how easy those things can seep in, because they don't come at you straight, they come at you sideways, they sneak in there thinking, oh, one will be okay. One is never okay, especially if you have those things, because that obsession of the mind takes over. And then once you lose the mind, once you lose the battle in here, choice is gone. You don't have a choice anymore. It becomes all about serving that addiction. It becomes your new god, in a sense. And this is why recovery is such a difficult process, and a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people suffer through addiction, thinking that it's outside things. But here's the thing: just like as this reading's talking about, those outside things don't have as much power over you than you have power over yourself. It's recognizing that hula hoop of recognizing that within us we have that choice. And the most thing I have gained out of going through the 12-step process, going through recovery, doing life coaching and therapy and things like that, is I've regained choice. And I hold on to that now as like a sacred, like it's a sacred baby to me. It is something that I don't want to relinquish that power of choice ever again. Doesn't matter what physical outside things are happening. It's that internal battle of the mind and the soul. And because like anyone who's ever been through addiction, if you've gone through addiction and you've come out on the other side, you probably recognize it. I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Recognizing that obsession becomes that new higher power. And the only way to you have to let it go. You have to surrender to it and say, no, all right, you've won, and find a new way through it. This is, especially in my recovery coaching, we really go over on building those. This is why building that strong spiritual foundation of your values, principles, and morals becomes paramount to overcome addiction. To be able to look at yourself, face yourself. As the world was judging me on my actions, I was judging myself on my intentions. And that the world doesn't work like that, right? Like I was thinking, oh yeah, my intentions are all good, but my actions don't show it. So recognizing that it all starts within our own mind and learning how to master our mind, master those things, so that when I do have those things come to me of alcohol, drugs, or those previous addictions start knocking on the door, because it seems like it's the easier, softer way to like, yeah, oh, just one drink, it won't hurt, or one puff, it won't do anything, but it will set off that chain reaction. And then the consequence of that is those choices don't become my own anymore. It becomes about the obsession, about the addiction. And the thing is, you may not even realize it at the time, because it's so insidious like that. It's such a powerful and devilish thing, addiction. It's why so many people don't recover. I'm really passionate about this. As someone who's gone through it, it is learning how to regain my own power again, not giving it away to others, be it addiction, people, places, things, that, recognizing that Stoic principle of what's inside my control. And what's inside my control is my power of choice. And to gain that back takes a lot of time if I've given it away. And I have to reclaim it for myself, not the external, but the internal, and the mindsets that go along with it. The power of the mind is such a great tool. But when we start to use drugs and alcohol, like the mind is, I think, the software, and then the brain itself, the physical brain, that's the hardware. And when you start introducing kind of substances in there that change that neurochemical process, you start changing the software in there. And what am I feeding that? And when you're starting to feed it with drugs, alcohol, and those addiction things, you're giving your brain the wrong signals, and then it changes your thought process. And it's a quote from Chuck C that I like. You can't act yourself in a new way of behaving. You can't think yourself into a new way of acting, but you can act yourself into a new way of thinking. Your actions lead the thoughts, not your thoughts leading the actions. We all think that our thoughts lead our actions, but that initial thought comes from what our actions and daily actions that we take. This is why I do this Daily Stoic as an accountability project, to keep myself accountable, to keep myself grounded in my values and morals, Because addiction leads to that bankruptcy of your morals, because you'll do, think of the crackheads and the people that go out there and rob for drugs and alcohol and things like that, and where life brings them through the series of choices. And the only one that can truly get them out of it, like, I've tried to help people in recovery before, and I've tried to force them along, and I've realized the only thing I can do is lay the tools out of their feet of what I've done, and it's up to them to make the choice to pick them up and to use it to recover for themselves. This is why I became a coach as well, is to lay out the tools to help others. But I can't walk their journey for them. I can only walk mine. And I'll talk about this. Like, even when I was in AA in Malta, I was sponsoring a guy, and he ended up, like, didn't drink himself to death, but he passed away drunk, hit by a car, and died. Survived by his wife and 2-year-old kid. Lovely guy, but that's where addiction takes him. Did the car kill him, or was it that obsession and that addiction that killed him? And I felt I had failed him, and someone in a meeting said, like, have you stayed sober? Have you continued to hold to your values and principles? Then at least one person stayed sober. And it was a hard kind of lesson for me to learn that I can't save you. I can only give you the tools. But I can tell you, as someone who's gone through it, these tools work. These mindsets work. The power, like learning to regain that power and that control again. And this is why I became a coach. If you're interested in my coaching, interested in regaining your power, regaining the power over your mind, and being able to actually master your mind instead of your mind mastering you, reach out to me. I love to work with you, love to help you. I offer a free 30-minute discovery call. In that call, we go over kind of what your kind of main problem areas are, what's really you're struggling with, and I lay out some basic tools so that you can move forward. No cost to you, ability to help you, and then if you want to work with me, fantastic. If not, fantastic. At least you've walked away with a few tools to help you live your best and fullest life. That's all I got for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate each and every one of you. I would love to hear your stories in the comments below of your power of choice, how you've overcome, if you've overcome addiction, or how you deal with those kind of obsession thoughts and the intrusive thoughts, how you deal with it. What are some of your tools? Lay them out, put them out there so that others may possibly can use those tools. Because if it worked for one person, it'll probably work for someone else. Yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you tomorrow, and have a great, if not better, day.